Julia Baird, John Lennon's sister, in conversation. Written by Geoffrey Giuliano. Narrated by Geoffrey Giuliano. This is Geoffrey Giuliano, rock biographer and historian. Welcome to the In Conversation series. Today, we're talking with Paul McCartney via John Lennon's sister, Julia Baird. Now, the questions were authored by me in advance and submitted to Mr. McCartney's office in Soho Square in London, and I was to conduct the interview, but due to some rather convoluted travel arrangements, I just couldn't make it in time. And so, Julia Baird was dispatched from Chester on the train down to London to Soho Square to meet Mr. McCartney, armed with my questions. One may well ask, how is it that I enlisted the aid of Julia Baird, Lennon's sister, in such a way? It's a fairly convoluted and perhaps vaguely interesting story. In the early 80s, I was taking a bath and reading People magazine, where I saw a very small entry about John Lennon's two sisters, Julia and Jackie, half-sisters, admittedly, on the mother's side. And laying there in that bath, I thought, wow, what a story they must have to tell, and nobody's spoken to them. They've never given interviews. They've never come to the surface at all. As it happens, I was scheduled to attend a Beatles convention at the Adelphi Hotel in Liverpool to promote, I think it was 2 or 3 of my books that had come out at the same time. While there, I saw a woman from behind that looked rather like John. She had the glasses, the hair parted in the middle. I thought, well, she's just an extravagant Beatle fan, a little bit over the top, imitating her idol. When in fact it was pointed out to me that this was indeed John Lennon's sister, Julia. I then approached her in the grand ballroom of that hotel, introduced myself, and suggested that it might be a good idea for her to write her memoir of her time with John and the Liverpool family from which they all spring. Now, Julia, a very educated, rather erudite, somewhat waspish schoolteacher from Chester, immediately pooh-poohed the idea, told me how nice it was to meet me, and then strode off. Now, the convention was a 3-day festival, so I had ample opportunity to see Julia here and there darting around. Summoning up my courage, I approached her again and made this argument. Listen, Julia, your mother, and indeed John, but more specifically, Julia Lennon, has been greatly maligned in all these Beatle books from day one as a woman of loose morals, as someone who didn't really care about John, didn't take care of her kids, allowed you and your sister to go live with her sister, Auntie Harry, in Liverpool at the cottage, didn't accept responsibility, and taken to the extreme was perhaps even an occasional prostitute. Thinking that I might perhaps be hit with something, she cast her eyes down and then upwards, inviting me into the bar to discuss the matter. She then confided in me that she was indeed concerned about the way her mother had been portrayed in Beatles literature from day one. And yes, it might be a good idea to grab the opportunity to finally set things straight. At that time, I was represented by a London agent called Carolyn Brunton, who sadly is no longer with us. I called Carolyn and said, "What do you think about a book with John Lennon's sister?" And she said, "I think it's fantastic." So we got together with Carolyn, we signed a collaboration agreement, and the book started to take shape. I flew back and forth from America to Liverpool several times to interview her extensively, as well as Leela Harvey, her cousin, and John's, of course, David Harvey, Norman Birch, and several other prominent people in the Liverpool side of John Lennon's family, who, by the way, had never really been interviewed before, and certainly not for a major work like this book. The resulting book, John Lennon, My Brother, was about to be published in 1986. After the manuscript was finished and about to be submitted for publication, I suggested to Julia that perhaps she contact Paul McCartney to write an introduction for the book. She responded that she hadn't seen him since she was about 8.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?